Hello, everyone, and welcome to Count Up Cast. They're already laughing at me behind the scenes, but I'm just going to leave it in the show right now because last week when they started the stream, when we started the show, they were laughing the entire pre-show, and then as I'm trying to count down with my hands, these two knuckleheads just kept laughing into the microphone and just trying to make me screw up. But you know what? I'm leaving it in the show this week. Welcome to the show where we're going to be talking about the progression of Final Fantasy as a series, as a franchise, from Final Fantasies 1 up until 15, which will be launching on September 30th. This week, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy 3, and of course, as with the last 2 weeks, I am one of your hosts, Michael, Mr. Happy Povoromo. Joining me, of course, that's Slack. You get to go first this time as the second one. Yeah, that's you. That's you next. Here. It's different for you and me. We're different. They don't mean anything to you. Okay, well, and then of course joining me is Slackaholicus, as he has been before, and tehMorag over here. There he goes. He's not even looking at the camera.
My stuff broke, and I'm trying to fix it now.
It broke, and he's trying to fix it. Oh man, some would call that karma for trying to make me laugh before the show.
It is karma. I feel kind of not bad at all. Actually, I'm good.
I didn't think you would at all. So, gentlemen, we are now on week 3 for Count Up Cast. We've come a long way. We still have a long way to go.
It feels like it's been 100 weeks after the last 2 games that we played through, I gotta say.
But for you've been playing RPGs all year too. So
yeah.
to even go straight into just all the Final Fantasies, you're just like, yeah, I'm here. I've been doing this.
Yeah, situation normal.
Yeah,
completely normal.
But I do agree. It's not even a third yet.
No.
It's a third near the end of this week. It'll be a third way through.
Because technically, even though this is number 3, it's only been 2 weeks to the day.
Yeah.
That's just how I think we mathed that out at one point, last week or something. But today we get to talk about a game that isn't Final Fantasy 2, so I'm excited. We get to talk about Final Fantasy 3. So you guys are already smiling, which is frightening to me because Final Fantasy 3 was where I kind of got my first big nightmare story since Final Fantasy 1, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So, as a reminder to everyone watching, which versions did we play? We said it last week's episode, which versions we would be playing. I played the Steam version. Slack, I believe you were playing Steam.
Yep, I also played the Steam version.
And Morag?
I played PSP.
Well, you'll get to talk about the differences there because I don't actually know the differences between the different versions.
I don't know if there was too many of differences, honestly. But we'll find out.
The graphics are no. I could think. Yeah, graphics are mostly the same.
I know that you guys mod yours a little bit to make it prettier and clean it up a bit.
Yours is more grainy than ours was.
Yeah, I remember that. I know there's some other differences. I'll probably remember them as we go throughout the show. So after playing through 1 and 2, did you guys enjoy 3? Was that a nice change of pace?
You know what's interesting is seeing the evolution from 1 to 2 to 3 and seeing where each game went after that. Seeing where the idea is and where they decide to use those ideas again later. 3 was just as refreshing as playing 1 and playing 2 for me.
Slack, you didn't seem to feel this. I saw your face when I asked that. And...
No, actually, 3 was probably... out of the games that I haven't played before, which is 2 and 3, I guess, it was the one that I was looking forward to the most because of the job system, but it was actually a huge letdown for me.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
A lot of ways. The structure of the job system just, it wasn't there yet. They hadn't figured out how to make it good.
Have you played 5?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Multiple times, actually.
That's going to be a great when we get to next week's when we get to talk about 4 and 5. Comparing 5 to 3 is one of the points that I'm looking forward to highlighting the most because it was very frequent during the stream. But we don't get to do that this week. We get to talk about Final Fantasy 3. Slack gets to talk about why he was disappointed, and I get to talk about I hate every boss in this game. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we've been doing kind of a certain order for things. We kind of start with party composition because of the way that the job systems work or the different choices and characters we have, especially for the later titles. So we're going to stick to that here, and we're going to start with party composition. Final Fantasy 3 is the first game in the series that actually I could say has a job system one had jobs, but this actually is a system for changing which jobs as you go throughout the game and altering your play style depending on bosses. So it leaves a lot more options open without being as open-ended as Final Fantasy II. Do you guys find this useful at all? That the ability to actually change jobs, or did it feel like a hindrance because of the way you had to do it?
There was only one boss where I felt like it was almost essential to switch bosses. That would have been Garuda.
Yeah, that was one of the points where the game took a major dip for me as well, actually.
I wouldn't say it. Oh, sorry, go. Sorry.
I mean, you basically have to have at least one Dragoon there, preferably probably two, especially because after you get into that sequence, I didn't know it at the time, but once you like crash your airship towards Saronia, and there's like a tower in one of those little villages. Because at the time, all I did was go around and see that all the shops were locked, and I was like, all right, well, I can't upgrade any equipment here. I'm just gonna have to make do with what I have. I did have an outside save from that, so I could go grind if I wanted. But at the time, I didn't know that there was a tower there that had a bunch of really strong equipment for Dragoons specifically. So you pretty much have to have at least one, if not two, Dragoons going into that fight. I had 2 or 3, and without them, you will get destroyed if you have not been grinding up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about the what goes with switching the jobs? Because it's not like you just go, oh, hey, I switched jobs, everything's hunky dory.
See, it's funny because whereas like with FF5, when we get to that, they did a slightly different way of changing jobs. But here, with FF1, you were stuck in that job. Like, you choose what you're going to do in life and you're stuck with it. Do the entire thing. With number 2, it was, if you want to be really good at something, you're going to learn to deal with that. And you know what? You can learn anything you want in your whole world. Here, it was, you know what? If you're getting really good at this, but you want to go do something else, well, there's a penalty for that. There's a little penalty, and you got to go and just bear with it. And honestly, I think the penalty just felt so silly because all it was a maximum of 10 battles, and the penalty was gone. It didn't feel, mean enough, I guess you could say, if they
wanted to punish you, like, it just didn't feel mean enough. But it also, like, not even just counting how long like it would take for it to go away, it was like a very small stat down. It meant almost nothing.
Yeah. And like, I guess there is one hidden stat in the game, which is aimed towards your melee users. So both your left and your right hand has proficiency levels that you can't see as well too. So every 33 hits, so when it says 12 hits, every 33 hits, it goes up 1 for your left hand or for your right hand. So if you're a primarily melee or a spellcaster and you go to a melee afterwards, you're screwed at the end of the game. So you want to level up, like grind out if you can, like at least one melee character for all of your whole team if you can, if you want to make sure that they're going to be good at any moment for melee, which was the one downfall, because it's a hidden stat too, for both left and right hand.
Yeah, I didn't know that existed at all. I had no idea.
I'd found out from a person had told me about it, and I went and looked it up. I was like, oh, that makes sense why one of my mages sucks all the time as melee.
Yeah.
And then you have the mage who's been like one mage the whole game, and you're like, wow, they hit really hard with that staff. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I've been swinging with that staff for the entire game. All right, so was there any job that you just kept the entire playthrough?
White mage until I got devout.
Actually, I did something. I did something very weird. I let my chat choose my party for me every hour. I started off every 3 hours, but I said this is too slow, and I switched up to every hour. So every hour on the hour, maybe sometimes a little late, we would change up the entire party. How I did it was I would draw 4 names randomly from the chat. They had to whisper me their what class, so no freelancer, no onion knight. And then the order that they whispered me would be the job for those characters in that order as well too. I also hid my job levels so they purposely couldn't screw me over. So no one knew my job levels.
You, sir, are a brave soul.
It was so much fun, but I can tell you, double bard, red mage, and white mage is a shitty party.
Yeah.
Man, I'm glad you warned me. I'm really happy you warned me about that. I never would have
been able to figure that out without you around.
I contemplated doing something similar, and I was like, I want to finish this game at some point. So
Well, I think I could have finished a lot earlier, but I wanted the variety of classes, and this was probably it was really fun. It was a really fun, but it required me to do a lot of off-screen grinding just so then I wouldn't be stuck grinding on screen, because like going to classes that were only like 1 to 10, job level 1 to 10 sucked a lot.
yeah, especially for the way that you actually progress jobs in this game, it's quite different from. It's actually somewhat similar to Final Fantasy II's system for progressing any of your spells or stats, where every time you perform an action, a job has a hidden value that it gets, and it gets a certain amount of job points, and you need 100 job points to gain a job level. So like Ninja gets like I think 12 per action, and then like White Mage gets 10. And so you have to sit in one battle, could be a level 1 battle, and then just do 10 actions on every party member and then end it, and you get a guaranteed job level.
Yep.
Essentially.
So for people that are wondering how does leveling up work in the system, there's two different, as Happy was saying here, there's two different EXP systems. There's your personal character job, and then you also end up having your skill, your job level as well too, your job EXP and then your personal EXP. So your job affects everything but your HP. So the higher your job level is, the higher stats you pretty much have in special categories, how much crit you have, anything along the lines of that. That is tied directly to your job. Now, HP is tied to what your current job level is when you level up. So whatever your class has for its VIT value. So this is why you want to have a knight, a black belt, a monk usually leveling up with, because you will then be quicker to get max HP later in the game. So it was fun trying to balance gaining HP over just sticking with a class. There was a little bit of balancing if you want to get more HP later in the game. If you didn't want to just try and find a way to get around it. It was silly, but anyway.
And considering how hard some of these bosses hit, you'll want to keep that in mind a little bit later.
Especially considering that they all get to act twice.
Yeah, that'll be fun to talk about when we get to bosses, because these bosses are a nightmare in this game. Okay, so we kind of spoke about switching jobs for Garuda with Dragoon. We'll talk about Garuda definitely more later. Are there any other bosses you felt that you just needed a job? It's like, if I don't have this job, man, this boss would be way easier if I just had this job with me right now.
There's one boss that you could have switched if you wanted to. As soon as you got the learner, person that can scan the enemy.
Scholar,
yeah. When you first encounter what people were calling wannabe Kefka, because he had the cape in front of him.
Yeah, that's
I thought
Hein.
Matador from SMT, Shin Megami Tensei.
That works.
So, yeah, like there was that guy, because you can use the scholar to find out what his weakness is, and then you can use your mages to attack weakness. I just DPS through it.
Yeah, I just got lucky and I hit his weakness a few times randomly. For that fight, I feel like you do need to have a mage in it, though. Like, he has such high defense that you do need a nuker class, whether it's black mage or red mage. And I went in with red mage myself.
I went in with no casters.
How'd that go?
Pretty well. I beat him in one try. You know what I did? I scanned him till his weakness was equivalent to my 20 Antarctic winds, and then I threw Antarctic winds at him.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's the
I
other
used
thing.
A lot of my Antarctic winds on Jin.
Is that Jin? Is that Salamander? Because mine is that the Salamander one in the Fire Crystal?
No, that's the first boss that you fight before you get the classes unlocked.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. But see, I'll talk about this later. But you can actually get a lot of Antarctic wins super easy before Salamander, and that's what I used to beat him as well.
Salamander was a nightmare too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
level 99 thief is amazing.
Yes, I did have a thief that was level 99 in my playthrough, and I did steal a certain spear from a certain boss later. Yeah. So anyway, so compared to Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 1 at the start of the game, you got to pick the job. And that's it. You're that job until it becomes an advanced job later in the game. Do we like this, where we have the choice, but there's kind of a bit more grinding involved? Or do we like Final Fantasy 1, where that decision is a decision that you got to make before you even know what the challenges are ahead of you?
As I'm older and know what I'm doing a little bit better, and party composition and things like that, I like Final Fantasy 1 system a lot better, because it's you don't have to, like, I'm not worried about screwing up my party composition now and being like, oh geez, I really wish I could switch out this red mage for a white mage, you know. There are ways to, like, the game, especially the GBA version, is designed around you being able to kind of play around that. In Final Fantasy 3, it feels like it punishes you if you don't have the right party composition a lot of the time throughout the game. If you don't have a Dragoon against Garuda, not to mention, when you switch to those new jobs, having to level it up from level 1, having to go and dick around in low-level fights for half an hour just to get those classes up to like level 14, level 20, level 30, spending all that extra time grinding out those extra classes is a huge detriment against actually using them. So for me, like I would just be too bored. I wouldn't want to go out and grind all those extra fights to switch jobs in Final Fantasy 3, which I really wanted to, but it was just too much extra time.
Hey, Slack, I can hear you just fine, but my chat's saying that your audio sounds a bit low.
All right.
I say it's a little low.
Little tiny bit. Yeah, because I have everyone bumped up to max, so I can't. I thought it might have been on my end, but wasn't going. No biggie. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
Maxed out in here. I
think you're just very soft spoken. You're a gentle giant. It's the beard. It makes people think you're going to be loud like me, but you're not. It's okay. While you're working on that, so when it comes to this, so they seem to obviously have gone back to more of the Final Fantasy 1 style in the first place here with actually having a job system versus 2. Do you think that this was a lesson learned thing with Final Fantasy 2 versus Final Fantasy 1? Or do you think that it was just curiosity of what more they could do if they had elaborated more on Final Fantasy 1's job system?
I'd almost like to say that this is an analogy on life and how people think that life should be a certain way, but realistically, damn it, there's many ways you can play the game of life. You're not just stuck.
I can't play the game of life, dude. Every time I play the game of life, everyone just cheats.
You're not gonna be a stable boy for your entire life. In the first game, you're a stable boy to a stable master. In the second game, well, it doesn't matter that you're a stable boy. Instead, I do really good at picking up all the poop. I do a really good job of moving all the hay around, and then maybe, just maybe, I get to go and farm a little bit, and I get really good at farming. In this game, man, at 3, you can do anything you want and be awesome at it if you put the time in.
Yeah.
You said it.
Okay, now you're loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like too loud?
You're distorting loud.
Yeah, you're distorting kind of loud. Everyone, you got your wish. He is louder.
That should be in between where
that sounds good.
Okay.
That sounds good to me. Okay. So, one final thing about jobs. Did we all get the Onion Knight? Now,
no, actually.
Didn't touch them. Didn't use them at all.
So, I actually have a question. So, I don't know if you were even able to get the...
I don't think I can.
No, you and I could. I don't think he could.
No, I could.
Yeah. Okay.
So how the PSP version, so in the DS version, the very original 3D remake, you had to go and talk to 9 friends using Street Pass on your DS, but you also needed to have the online servers on. The online servers are offline now.
Yeah. So in our version, the Steam version, and I'm guessing in your PSP version, it's just automatic. You just get you just get letters from the NPCs.
And then they're like, you need to come where the kids are missing. Come find the kids.
For me, the Mognet just stopped giving me mail, so I was like, oh, all right, whatever. I'm not going to worry about it then. Even if I'd gotten it, I wasn't going to use it.
No.
So.
I know you had to talk to NPCs multiple times to trigger some events.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it just after the second crystal, so really early in the game.
That's when it happened for me too. Yeah. But I noticed I only had 3 people. 3 people I was getting letters from, so there's NPCs that I missed along the way.
Yeah.
Well, there's also the thing that your party leader determines who you get letters from. So if you stand at a Moogle for the Mognet, you just switch party leaders, you'll get more letters.
Oh, this makes sense. What is it? Because I think Moog.
Yeah, try it one more time.
He ends up saying, it's like, are you getting letters for someone else? So it's telling you to switch members right there. And I was wondering, sometimes, because I would also switch up my members because the chat would start realizing what levels some of my jobs were, so I had to switch them up, so then people couldn't try and work out and get certain classes and jobs. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know how you managed to do that. Yeah, because the Onion Knight in this game actually isn't useful unless you're going to fight the optional boss. It's not good until your character level is at least 90-ish.
From what I understand,
starts at 93, I think.
Yeah.
And from what I understand too, you can use Onion Knight is extremely powerful against Cloud of Darkness if you have the Onion armor. Doesn't matter
Yes.
what level though. It's just good if you have the young in armor.
I just wasn't going to bother with that.
Yeah.
Well,
At 93, actually, it's different in a few versions. In the original Nintendo version, the way that it works there is it starts at level 87, and then for every level from then on, you get +7 to your stats. In the Steam and DS versions, or Steam and PSP versions, at level 93 it starts, and for every level after that, for the next for those 7 levels, or no, I think it might start at 92 then. And it gives you +12 stats for every one of those levels. So
Fun.
it ends up maxing out at 99 for every stat.
It takes a really long time to level in Final Fantasy
Yeah.
3 for anyone who doesn't know that, by the way.
Oh my god.
To level from 0 or 1 to 99 usually took me about 2.5 hours for a full class, for a full round through, which wasn't super terrible.
For a class, that's fine. I mean, your personal levels.
Yeah.
That's
Person levels,
Personal
even
levels.
around level, like high 40s, low 50s, it starts taking a few battles every time.
You guys don't know about the really hacky spot to go and gain massive levels. You go into the Behemoth Cave.
That's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you just run in and you just jiggle along the edge.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
I ended up grinding there because you can basically go on complete auto battle there.
Mhm.
Every fight in there is really simple, and it gives you 5,000 plus experience. And I was like, okay, I'll stay here.
You mean the Bahamut Cave, not you said Behemoth. You meant the
Oh yeah,
Bahamut.
Behemoth. Bahamut.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bahamut Cave, yeah.
Yeah.
Bahamut Cave gives the same amount of experience as the Crystal Tower does, but the enemies are significantly easier.
Much, much easier.
Yep. Oh,
I was
man.
actually trying. I got really mad because I missed 2 of the underwater areas where you get to the summons, and I went back and I did the fights through there after I had done the Cave of Darkness with the dividing enemies. And the enemies in that cave give you like 600, 800 experience, and they're really, really annoyingly hard.
Yeah.
And then I went back to these areas that I could have found hours and hours ago, and the enemies in there are giving me like 3,000 experience, and I'm one-shotting everything. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be leveling up in here if I do it anyway. Thanks.
Yep, that's exactly what would have happened to me if I didn't do something towards the end of the game. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So combat in Final Fantasy 3 we don't need to talk about too much. Final Fantasies 1, 2, and 3 so far have been pretty much all similar in a sense that you pick all of the actions for your entire party, and then the turn plays out based on speed. So that hasn't changed here. The only noticeable difference is that dual wielding is much more effective in this game than it was in Final Fantasy 2, where while it was good, the speed decrease on it and the evasion decrease was just not worth it late game. So did we like dual wielding? Are we all fans of holding 2 lances and just doing this over and over again for every turn?
I liked that it was a lot of damage, but I hated it was just it made you really, really defenseless because you don't have a shield on those characters. So you're already taking a lot of damage from bosses, and then having to dual wield just to keep up your damage, what made it even worse. It took even more damage. I like the idea of being able to dual wield. I just wish it wasn't the only strat, the only viable, sensible thing to do.
Well, it's how you play your games. Either you're going to be defensive or a little bit more aggressive. You can choose. Like I would definitely say with FF2, I was more defensive. That game made me play defensive. With FF3, I found that I could be aggressive and I could just heal through it.
I found that if I didn't go aggressive, then these bosses were going to 2-shot me that turn anyway because they're all assholes. And so I just decided, whatever, I'm going with 2, I'm going to kill it before it kills me. And I just started learning to calculate their health and try to burst them down right at the very end before they would end me with their special attacks that they get at low HP. All right, so combat flow really doesn't change that much. I mean, you have the jobs individually, but I don't think we really need to spend too much time talking about combat here. Final Fantasy IV next week is the first active combat, is the first ABP system.
No more on hits anymore.
Right. So next week, Final Fantasy IV will probably have a much more in-depth discussion regarding their decision to go for the way that works, because that's pretty much how it's going to follow suit for the rest of the Final Fantasies from this point on. But the story now, Final Fantasy 3. So when we talked about Final Fantasies 1 and 2, we talked about how it went from the generic, hey, we're 4 dudes, and there's crystals, and there's bad guys, and there's a time paradox. Like that normal, the story that everyone expects. And then in Final Fantasy 2, where it's basically like Star Wars, where it's like the Empire's evil, we're going to take it down. And then he comes back from hell, and you're just like, all right, I didn't see that coming. Final Fantasy 3, depending on your version, either has a story that's like 1 or a story that's like 2. Because in the early versions, they are just warriors of light. in the versions that all of us played, they're given names, they're given relationships with the fellow characters, they're given everything.
They're also referred to as the Warriors of the Light in this which was really weird to me.
In my version, it was called Warriors of Light.
Really?
Sometimes they call them sometimes some people call them, like, the less important characters I found call them Warriors of Light, whereas like the characters who like know what they are call you're the 4 Warriors of the Light. Because then when I get to the World of Darkness, they were calling themselves the Warriors of the Darkness.
I don't think I remember seeing it. Maybe I just passed over in my mind. I don't remember seeing the Light or the Darkness at all. It was the Warriors of the Warriors of Light instead. Like even like when you go and beat up the 4 dark crystals and they're like, we're gonna help you, and then even when you're going against Dark Cloud or Cloud Darkness, like it's
Dark Cloud, different game.
I want to see if that might have been something that they fixed up, like, because from what I understand, the PC version is the iOS port, is a port of the iOS version.
Yeah.
So I want to know where iOS came from. Maybe
iOS came from the PSP. So basically, the iOS, so the DS, the iOS, the PSP, and the Steam version are all essentially the same remake. The PSP one's the most grainy, but they are all essentially the same game. The only difference is the Steam version is based on the iOS version, which has a mobile user interface. Yeah. So like the menus are huge, so it's supposed to be clickable with your fingers while you're playing on a phone. So that's the one big difference between the Steam and iOS and the DS and PSP. Otherwise, they're all essentially the same game.
I'm just wondering, like, I want to go out now and take a look if I just overlooked that in my version, like just the darkness or the light.
It's really simple to miss because it can also, like, the word "the." I'm used to seeing it, the Warriors of Light, and it's Warriors of the Light. So it's like it's just where the is. It's not too important, but.
Well, like, even if we were to take a look at FF1, the FF1 ending, like, spiel, like the version that I got in the PSP version was
the one that mentions 2,000 years about 50 times.
Yeah, like it was like I went back and I read the original NES version. The NES version is way better and way more clear. Like it felt like they needed to word this up just because it's a newer version. Like the older version was way better. So I'm wondering, like, just translation, relocalization possibly of going over all the text and scripts in the game. I wonder if they ended up doing anything between the versions too. Anyway,
I just hope we have no more 2,000-year wars ever again. That's all I know. So how did we feel about this story? Did it feel like it was kind of just a generic Warrior of Light story that got turned into 4 characters that for some reason had names, or did it feel like a story?
Yeah, because the original version on the Nintendo, there's a lot of differences. For one, you start out as Onion Knights in that one, and you're I've actually played, this is the version that I've played about 10 minutes of, and then I just stopped. What happens in the original Nintendo version is that you're at the bottom of the cave, or like at the bottom of an orphanage, I think, and the orphanage is on fire, it's burning down, and you're climbing your way out, and on your way out, you are like told, hey, you're the Warriors of Light, congratulations. And so all 4 of you climb out right then, and you've got your jobs and stuff. But in this version, and in all of the remakes since then, the characters are given names, they're given these backstories and stuff, and sort of built up as like, oh, they're individuals instead of just guys that you can throw jobs onto.
Yeah, but you do find out that they are all orphans eventually, even in the later versions. But as opposed to the fire scene, you start falling into a cave, essentially. Oh, man, I slipped and fell in this hole. I got to get out of here somehow.
Yeah, I never liked the starting of this. I never liked the starting of how this worked out. It's like, okay, so why are you in there? Like, at least with, like, say, Secret of Mana, you fall down the waterfall because you slip on a rock when you're hanging out with one of your friends. Like, at least you know why you're there. But with this, it was just like, you fall in a hole.
Oh, there's a crystal in here that I never knew about somehow. Oh, it's speaking to me. Oh, man, it didn't give me my jobs here. What an asshole. I got to go all the way around first.
Yeah. You must find the 4 prophecies and then come see me.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's...
Go away, leave me alone.
It's not until after you beat the Djinn, I think, that you're given your jobs, which is incredibly... And also, I'd like to point out that nowhere in Final Fantasy III is it ever explained that there's going to be 2 caves that beat the shit out of you in the first 5 minutes of the game. It's like, hey, there's a mithril mine in the back of the town. They said I need mithril. They said I need mithril to break the curse. I'm going to go in the mine. All right, first enemy, one shot. All right, I'm gone. See ya. I'm
Yeah,
out.
that same thing ended up happening to me because they mentioned you need mithril. There's a mithril mine, and then someone back there, like no one tells you to not go in there. They're just like, oh, there's a mine back there with mithril. Oh, it's a dangerous place. Oh, there's a secret passage somewhere back there, and I was like, okay.
Those are all
I'm
the
gonna go
context
look for the
clues for a
secret
go
passage.
there.
And then I go and I look for the passage, and two shadows come up, and they're like, you came to the wrong neighborhood, pal.
And then they started dancing and singing like West Side Story. I wish they had. It would have made it more draw. And what's even worse about that mine, there's never a point in the game where you need to go to that mine.
Yeah, it's just there.
It's got some okay items in there for the early parts of the game. That's it.
One of the letters you get is from the person at town, like the blacksmith. He's like, man, I'm so old, I can't just bring all this mithril back. So I'm like, oh, I finally have to go over there. I go in, there's nothing. I'm like, I made this trip for nothing.
Nope. And someone's pointing out the West Tower in the first castle is another easy trap. You just go in there. Oh, I'm looking for loot, and then all of a sudden there's enemies that'll two-shot you in there.
Yeah.
That happens a lot in Final Fantasy 3. It seems.
I think they left those in just to warn you. Just like in FF2, you cross that river, you're on the wrong side of town.
Yeah, you're by Mysidia now. You've made a mistake. I mean, I think it's hilarious. It makes for great stories like this, but from a designer's standpoint, you're an asshole. For lack of
And the worst part to me is that there are those NPCs that kind of hint at you needing or wanting to go in there. You're not supposed to, because you rely on these older games. You rely on the NPC advice so often. So I talked to some of the NPCs around town, and I was like, "Oh, they must be kind of pushing me towards going in there and checking that out to advance the story." Sure, that makes sense.
Nope.
No. Nope.
Bad idea, my friend.
Actually,
bad idea.
so like talking about the story of F3, I'll definitely say like this how this story ends up playing through. Like, you know, you're introduced to character, you have to do one little tiny thing, then you're introduced to a bigger plot point, and then a bigger plot point, and then rug gets pulled out. It's a much bigger world. Tales, all the Tales games is literally that is their bread and butter for every story. So it was interesting where it ended up coming from.
I love this example in my chat about the NPCs, where so in the early game, when you're told by the mithril mines it's dangerous and you go in there and you get your ass kicked, that kind of tells you, if anyone says something's dangerous, I'm not listening to them anymore. But the Dragoon Tower, there's an NPC right outside of it that says it's dangerous in there, don't go into the Dragoon Tower. Mm-hmm. And that is a really easy tower to get through and get all the loot.
Actually, when I went in there for the first time, I had to, I might have been under-leveled, but I had to keep coming out every couple levels and go heal up. So you had to leave the town.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but
go back down in. Yeah.
That's different than what happens when you walk into the mithril mines at level 1. At least you have the opportunity to walk out without reloading your dead save file.
Well, I hope you saved on that overworld.
I didn't.
Ooh.
I had to do that whole opening sequence again.
I actually think that's the reason why I stopped playing playing it for the first time on DS was because the mithril mine's killing me.
Mm-hmm. That's
like,
call.
I was actually
cool.
making
That's
sure
something.
I went full ABS on this game. Always be saving, because I knew this game was going to screw me over sometime. So I had saved right before I went into the mithril mines, thankfully. And from that point on, I was like, yes, I need to like tattoo ABS onto my forehead and remember that for all of my time.
I had only lost, I think, like 1 hour once because I didn't save once. But it was real quick and easy. It was mostly just figuring out what I wanted to do for my party, but it still sucked.
Oh my god.
The story of the game overall, I mean, it was not that impressive. I feel like it was maybe a step above 2.
It was a million times better than 2. At least there felt structure to this story. 2 just felt like, this is happening, that's happening. Your best friend is evil. He wants to be your friend now, though.
You're gonna name him at the beginning, and he'll see you in 20 hours. Pretty much.
20
And
hours
everyone
of grinding, 5 hours of game.
And then everyone will die somewhere along the line, and then we'll make a game 20 years from now that makes use of those dead characters. We were totally planning it the entire time. Yeah, Final Fantasy 3 story, I find it a lot more interesting. I have the pleasure of having seen it expanded in Final Fantasy 14, and it because for those who don't know, the Crystal Tower appears as a 24-man raid, Labyrinth of the Ancients, into the Crystal Tower, into the World of Darkness, and the stories are pretty much exactly the same, but for that reason, I almost have an appreciation for the story of the later half of the game once you get the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Because there is more of a sense of urgency of danger, whereas in the first two, it's just like defeat the 4 fiends, and then the second one is the Empire's evil, we must stop them. There's never a sense of like, oh man, I really need to do that. Like, it's just, this is the side I was born onto, almost, it feels like.
I know that you're gonna like the 14 version of it even better because I need to go listen to it because everybody told me I need to. How good was Cloud of Darkness's song?
Amazing.
Oh, so good.
all of the remixed music in Final Fantasy 14. I personally think the Circus Tower theme, which I still think in Final Fantasy 3 as a whole is in its original form one of the best themes across the series. It's even better in Final Fantasy 14. It's easily one of my highlights for themes in that game. So would definitely recommend listening to the World of Darkness, Circus Tower, and Cloud of Darkness themes all in Final Fantasy 14. They're great mixes of them. So how about the end of this story? The Crystal Tower.
Are we talking about this from a gameplay perspective or a story
You know what?
perspective?
Right after we're done with story, we're going to be talking about it from a gameplay perspective. So if
Okay.
you want to lead it to that, that's perfectly fine.
From a story perspective, I mean, this was around the time where I was just like, all right, I'm going to go out and grind levels finally, and I'm going to do it off stream. So right before you get the last jobs, I had to level up some so that I could take on Titan. I think that was the Titan fight.
Yeah,
maybe.
Titan is the Labyrinth of the
And
Ancients.
then, so I did that, got those crystals, and then you make it through that little area, and then you come out and you venture into the Crystal Tower, which was weird because you had to kill Doga and Une's bodies to get the keys, except the keys were just sitting there on their chests. So I don't know what those two were talking about. I think they were.
They
just
said they
trolling
needed their
us.
life essence to charge the key.
But then they didn't actually show that happening. I don't believe it.
It was the determination.
This is not Undertale.
I wasn't thinking Undertale. I was thinking more of
Well, they just say determination in that all the time.
what is the anime?
No,
Mine is
Undertale.
the one that will pierce the heavens.
no.
Oh, Shining Finger.
Gurren Lagann.
Oh, right, Gurren Lagann, okay. I always get that and some of the quotes from Gundam series mixed up, but yeah. So yeah, you go into the tower, and you've got the two different paths. They don't exactly explain to you what you're doing in the tower. Thankfully, I went down to Eureka first, which is where I wanted to go, and I got
Should you call
bonus
Eureka
points on it.
Eureka?
It both work, yeah.
Okay, I'll leave
Eureka
it.
is like an older pronunciation.
Okay, I didn't know that. I'll
Not to
accept
mention
it.
Eureka, because that place. Funny enough, that place was not that scary. The bonus fights
No.
down there for the strong equipment.
They're only level 40-ish, all the bosses down there.
Those
Yeah.
are really fun, actually. I enjoyed those.
Yeah,
fights.
I like those. It was fun because it's like you get into a boss fight, you get fully healed, you walk forward, you get in another one, and you're fully healed for it already. I was like, thank you.
Actually, I wasn't a big fan of how they tricked you when you first get into the Crystal Tower. So there's the labyrinth, which was fine. That was pretty easy. But you get into the Crystal Tower, and then it was the first dungeon out of anything that they've ever done. The Crystal Tower is very unique. And I'd say it's still pretty unique across even the whole Final Fantasy series as itself, because you go in, you keep going straight, and that's not your destination. That is not the ending of the game until you realize, wait, I'm going down.
Right.
So that's problem number one. So you get to the bottom, you learn that that's not the right way. So you start going throughout this. So you start looking through that main room. Oh, you find out there's a gate off on the right hand or the left hand side. So you're like, well, okay. So you go through there, you're fine. But before you do that, you decide to go and venture on the outside. Okay, there's some areas. But you go through that door and then you start venturing there and you're like, okay, well, I better not keep going straight. I better start exploring more just in case. No, you don't need to. You go to the next floor. Maybe this is the floor you have to explore. No, you don't need to. Oh, for the next 6 more floors, you do not need to explore at all.
Unless you want to fight big dragons that'll kill you in one hit and send you back to the bottom.
So
Yeah,
it was,
luckily I was able to run from all of those.
it was just really annoying that this dungeon went against all mechanics and then tried to screw you over. And from a design, from just an archaeological
Architecture.
architecture standpoint, it don't make sense.
Come on, like you can ever judge architecture in a friggin' fantasy game. Castlevania has random stairways that just hang on the fucking walls. Like, I'm not gonna question that. It's like, how do they even get through this thing? Like, how do they go out to get like a bagel? Or they
They're
can't.
skeletons. They don't need bagels.
Not all of them. Frankenstein's not a skeleton. He can use it. Okay, anyway, I'll accept
Well,
it.
Frankenstein eats the skeletons.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's plenty of calcium through that. Okay, so progression through the game. This is the one where I think we all have nightmare stories because we couldn't even get to this point without sharing nightmare stories, and we've been just mentioning bosses left and right and how they've annihilated us throughout the way. So I'm not gonna lie, this is easily the hardest Final Fantasy so far in count up compared to 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask how you guys felt, but I don't need to because this entire show has been about.
Feel bad. Feel bad.
I haven't beaten it yet.
Hey,
No.
the good news for you is you were only supposed to have it beaten by tomorrow. I'm sorry, by yesterday.
By yesterday, I was
yeah.
about to
Well,
say.
I don't stream any of the Final Fantasy games on the weekend anyway.
Yeah. So see, I don't. You're on schedule.
I died on the very last boss because I didn't think they would do particle cannon 2 times in a row.
2 times in a row. Yep.
And they did.
You should have learned your lesson.
So there was 3 problems I had. Number 1, I forgot to equip erase so I could remove their buffs. Number 2, I forgot to equip ribbons or Aegis shields on my
I
ward.
noticed that, and I was like, oh, why don't you have ribbons equipped on everybody?
So I missed that, and then number 3 was not healing enough because every other boss in the game, you did not need to heal that much.
Because if you
I
did,
did.
you were probably dead anyway.
Yeah, no, I was fine. I could probably heal every 3 or 4 turns. This was the first boss. I had to heal every turn, or you will die.
See, I had to heal every turn on every other boss, too, so I was used to this. But even then, I went into this fight, and the first time I fought her, she would do particle cannon, slap, particle cannon, slap, particle cannon, slap, turn after turn, and that ended up wasting me, and I was like, good. I got RNG'd really hard there. I'm very happy to hear that.
No, you want to talk about RNG. We're talking about Cloud of Darkness here. You don't even have to wait that long to get RNG'd out. Probably the first boss that'll start RNGing you out is Salamander in front of
That
the
happened to me.
Fire Crystal. He only has about 6,000 health, but when he drops to about 30% of his HP, because every boss in this game just gets to attack twice because, well, it's 1 on 4. It only seems fair, right? And then he's like, fire breath, goodbye.
Yeah.
Your game
From
is
what I understand, like, I guess I got over some really heavy RNG, or not even RNG, but like desperation moves that some bosses pull off, and I never got to see any of them.
Yeah.
Like, at all. Like, because
Yeah,
I just
if you don't see those, if they just keep up their normal attack pattern, most of the fights in the game are not bad at all. It's like, okay, he hit this person and that person, he hit this person twice. Oh my god, I gotta heal them right now. But it's not terrible. It's when they get those desperation attacks, when Salamander's like, haha, fire breath, I took your whole team down to single-digit HP left.
Well,
That's when it gets bad.
From what I understand, the reason why our versions have the enemies hitting so hard, and that goes for even the enemies in the random game. In the original Final Fantasy III, the amount of enemies on the screen, I believe, went up to 8. In this version, it's down to 3. So instead, because there's, almost a third of the same enemies, all the enemies hit almost 3 times as hard.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's for bosses. From what I understand, the Salamander is pretty much a dick regardless of what version. The Garuda's a dick regardless of what version. They can still do the double lightning, double fire breath. It still pretty much ruins you. But for the rest of the game, getting even to those enemies, we forgot to even bring up the charge system that I hated so much from Final Fantasy I returned in this version.
it was so much fun. It made sense.
It was a lot better in this
Charges
version.
made sense.
It was better because they grew them better. Like the white mage gets 10 casts of level 1 magic by like level 10. It's so much better.
Like it was really cool how it tied into the jobs too, because some jobs got more later in the game. You had more high-end ones, less mid, and like more beginning ones. It was really cool. I really enjoyed how the spell charge system worked. And on top of that, no ethers. So you couldn't you had to manage your HP. And potions were kind of useless, but even then, you had a class dedicated to using potions correctly too, if you wanted.
Yeah, the scholar doubling the use of a high potion to make it heal for 1,000.
There are the elixirs in the game though, in our versions that do restore MP though.
Yeah, I didn't use any. I
did for the last fight.
Actually, you know what? There is interesting though for this, and this is something that's completely different. Phoenix Downs.
Yes. You couldn't buy them, but you could find a large number of them.
A large. Oh my god. I was
large.
so afraid.
Early on, there is not a large number. Of
I
them.
found a decent amount early on. I ended up going
There's a
through one or
decent
two
amount,
boss.
but like there were a few boss fights where I went through 3, 4, 5, no problem.
I know I was always kind of on the edge of having 12 or 12, 11 of them, and like they're kind of like my oh shit moments.
Yeah.
But I got really screwed over sometimes by like I had to switch mid dungeon for my parties.
Yeah.
Since I was doing it every hour, and there was one composition where I'm like, there's no way I'm getting out of this dungeon. And I had to use Phoenix Downs to get out, and it was scary.
Yeah. But we have them at least. I'd rather have some than have none. Although you still needed to take people to res them to the springs. Like the church system is still technically in this game. It's just that I noticed that if you res a party member at the springs in the towns, you actually get health and mana back. But if you don't resurrect them there, that doesn't work. Like you need to go
Yeah, they
sleep at
don't
the
come
inn.
back. If you sleep at the inn, they just stay dead.
Yeah, but not only that, but if you actually resurrect people at the springs, like if you have someone dead and you need to resurrect them, then they don't just come back with 1 HP. Everybody gets a full heal and full MP return, so it almost acts like an inn if you have dead people.
But you know what's always amusing is having a dead body that is actually a toad, a blind toad. You resurrect them and they're still a blind toad.
Yeah.
you
keep status effects through death.
And heal their blind toadness.
Yeah. That was, I will agree, frustrating to some degree. To always have to... Remedies became a good friend of mine. Very quickly.
I just stocked up on items like for that. I had like 50 of every item by the end of the game just to make sure I did. Now, there's actually something, I don't know if it affected you guys, but I'd found the Chocobo, the fat Chocobo, and they had a storage system. I'm like, wait a second. Is there a limited amount of items I could bring with me? And I found out that in the original version, there is.
Yes.
Yeah, in the original, it's extremely limited, extremely punishing.
Yeah, just like Final Fantasy fucking 2. Where was my fat Chocobo there?
So with this, like I thought that it was limited, but your inventory keeps getting bigger and bigger and only leaves like a handful of slots at the bottom visually. Right. So it's not like FF6 where they just give you like 1.5 million pages that you know you'll never ever build.
254 or 5 slots and then the trash can slot or something.
I hated Final Fantasy 2. Just wait till I tell you about Final Fantasy 4 next week and tell you about the inventory system that I had there.
Yeah, which version did you play?
PS motherfucking P.
Is it bad in that one?
48 inventory slots. 46.
I think the same in the GBA.
Yeah.
I
think the GBA has unlimited actually.
Oh, I'm going to be playing that later today.
Yeah, it was honestly.
Better than 3.
I'll talk about that because when we're wrapping up, we will mention which games we're talking about next week, and we'll give a few little tidbits about that. But I hate inventory.
I was reminded in chat, Fat Chocobo, the reason why you would want to use them in these versions to have more than 99 items.
Yes. You could stock more than 99 items, which the thing is, most of the items you could collect. There weren't really reasons to have more than 99 of them is the only thing. But that is an effective use if you do have a reason.
I want at least 198 Chocobo Wraths.
I mean, if that's how you want to beat the Cloud of Darkness, okay.
That's one way to do it.
Well,
that is
playing
absolutely.
Scholar and spamming those items is so much fun, though.
Scholar actually is one of my favorite jobs of Final Fantasy 3.
Scholar, overpowered. Hands down, ridiculous, dumb class. If you just level up that class, start spamming items, you are going to win. Bard, if you're actually swapping out weapons between having Brave on your...
And if you can afford those weapons, which when you first get the Bard is not something you can do. And that's one of the things that I hated about the progression.
So, yeah, it's actually, FF6 kind of does that too, but we'll get to that when that happens. But, like if you play Bard correctly in like a full melee party, whoo, Bard is ridiculous as well too.
Bard is really, really good if you have all the harps. Like really, really good. I was glad that for my final party, Bard was one of the classes I actually took with me. My final party ended up being a knight, dual wielding, Ragnarok and Excalibur, of course, a ninja, because ninja. And actually, funny enough, that was the only way. The ninja was the only way I could kill the right tentacle in the Cloud of Darkness fight, because I didn't have a real magic user on the team. So
I didn't even bother trying to kill. I didn't even bother trying to kill the right tentacle because I didn't have any magic. I was like, he's fine. I'm leaving him.
And then a bard and a devout.
See, I ended up going devout invoker.
Okay.
Really, you went invoker
over summoner.
Yeah.
Any particular reason?
I wanted the mix of magic, like pure. I want to make sure I could do all 3 classes just in case. And like I had the full summons, which were actually really fun. I really enjoyed how summons worked. Because
From what I read about, I never got to use them, but I read about them. And
so
cool.
every summon has 2 abilities. They have 2, sometimes 3, depending on the summon. If you start off using an Invoker, oh no, shoot!
No. You're on the right track. You're on the right track.
Invoker is the first is the very first summoning class. I didn't use that one for endgame.
You Summoner.
Yeah, no, and then there's Summoner, and then there's Sage.
Sage.
Okay.
Sage.
I was like, I don't think that's the one.
I think it's Sage. But anyway, Sage is just an overpowered Invoker that can use all the magic.
Yeah, it's like a super red mage is how I thought of it.
But a Summoner will always pick the damaging spell a summon will happen or do. If you use an Invoker to do it, it randoms what the ability is. So it might help you, it might give you the buff or debuff, or it might do the damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from what I remember, Invoker has access to abilities 1 and 2, whereas Summoner gets access to the summon's 3rd ability, which is most of the endgame summons have their special attack as their 3rd ability.
Okay, that makes the charts that I saw make a lot more sense. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the big difference. Is Summoner can draw from the 3rd one, which is basically in case Bahamut, Mega Flare, Ifrit, Hellfire, whereas the other ones are just giving buffs, which still works out fine. Buff jobs are always welcome. It's just you don't get a decision.
Bard.
Yeah, definitely Bard.
Bard was actually very effective, and when I first got that's the same crystal where you get the Dragoon as well. And so I did some grinding off stream after I got that crystal, and I was like, I could level the Dragoon right now. I kind of want to, but now I think I'm going to stick with Viking instead. That turned out to be a giant waste of time.
Yeah, I hated Viking.
There aren't enough bosses. There's like 2 bosses in the game where Provoke is worth having, and the rest of them that it may have been useful against, I was powerful enough that I didn't need the Provoke taunt there anyway.
Yeah.
So I was a little upset around then. And then I wanted to try and grind up to get enough equipment for a lot of these other classes. And right after you get that crystal, you cannot have enough money. You cannot get enough. You have to do the next few dungeons because there's some chests in those dungeons. They give you a big hunk of change that you can then go out and buy a lot of these equipment upgrades. But once you get the Bard, you can be like, oh, God, I want to buy this harp. And it's like, well, that's 10,000 gold for a class that I don't know if it's going to be very effective. And honestly, bringing him along for that one single harp, completely worthless. It's not until you get your boat back and you go to the town in the middle of the map, I think, where they have the Evoker spells and the Bard harps. And you can buy all the other harps there, but that's a huge gold investment for, again, you don't know how effective that's actually going to be on your team.
I remember, so I kind of mentioned it earlier. I actually ended up having a lot of gold for those harps because before the salamander, you have access to the boat, and the enemies you run into out in the ocean, if you have a thief that's a certain level, you can steal Antarctic winds, which is how I ended up going through the salamander. I got him within his flamethrower range, and I had all 4 party members throw Antarctic winds at him. And that's how I just bursted him down before he managed to kill me. But along the way, I picked up a ton of gold, and then by the time I killed him, I was like, oh, I actually can afford all these harps, but I'm not going to use him. I just decided, you know what? No. I don't feel like leveling this many jobs. And I ended up keeping a lot of my beginning game jobs. Like, I had a thief, I had a warrior, and I had a white mage pretty much all the way through the game, and I had a 4th person who was flex. And that person was between, scholar and monk at some point. I don't even remember. I almost never changed jobs because I didn't want to go through the whole grind again of getting more job levels, which was ultimately why when we hit the last dungeon, I killed Titan and I loaded up my save file from last year to finish the Crystal Tower, which I was about level, I think, 60-ish in. And even then, I still had a character die because I decided, I'll be fine. And then I got double particle beamed and my healer got killed.
So she can use particle beam twice in a single turn, or
she did to me.
Wow,
she gets
I got
4
really
attacks.
lucky. I don't think that ever happened with any of my boss fights except maybe Garuda, where
I got double lightning and double fire breath. I got double lightning on Garuda, double fire breath on Salamander.
I never got double fire breath, particle cannon, anything like that. Thank God.
Yeah,
no, I
thanks.
didn't have anything super bad like that. It was just more of just going from one round to the next, and then just dying because of not healing enough there.
Yep, that sounds like an awfully similar experience to what I had. So, Final Fantasy III. we're gonna wrap up our discussion here because we've had a lot of sighs with our experiences with this one. It's the only game we're talking about this
one
week.
last thing I do want to touch on
Okay.
progression that really upsets me is that at the end of the game is when you get all the jobs that I feel like matter.
Oh, why did they give you? That was so late.
I know. That's what annoys me is this game does it really poorly. And 5, I don't want to touch on 5 too much, but 5 gives you the last crystal and the last set of jobs about through the halfway point of the game, maybe even a little bit sooner.
At this point, it's at the 90% mark.
It's at the 90% part, and you're like, well, I just got these new jobs that are literally just better versions of everything else I have. Now I have to go level them up. And in a way, it kind of harkens back to Final Fantasy 1, where you play through a bunch of the game, and you're a white mage, and then you become a white wizard. And in this game, you start off, you can have a white mage that then becomes a devout, which is just a straight-up improvement of the white mage. The other reason I don't like it in this game, aside from coming super late, is that you have to grind up those job levels on those new classes again. So it's just a huge time sink where it's like, well, now I need to make a ninja because they're incredibly strong. I need a devout because it's by far the best healer in the game. So you have to go out and grind these kind of classes, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
It's just a huge stop.
It reminds me of Final Fantasy 13, where everyone says the tutorial lasts until the last boss. It kind of reminds me of that, because that's exactly how it feels when you... the 4th crystal is right under the crystal to end. Final set of jobs.
I love FF13, but I do wish they just a little bit back further, they unlocked everything. It would have been nice. But I think Final Fantasy 13 still is on the right track to give you a proper play, like a proper experience of guided to opening, expanding everything.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3 kind of keeps you on the fishing rod right until the very end. It's like, I got him.
Like, it feels like they wanted to give you that crystal, especially like when you see it and then it shatters and disappears, and you're just like,
cool.
Shit. No? And then you don't
Did
see
I
it
get the jobs yet, or is that no?
Yeah,
That's
and then you
gone.
don't see it for 8 hours. It's gone.
Yep.
It's MIA. It's just like, okay, bye then. I miss you.
Oh, God. Speaking of which, did you guys, just for fun, kill yourselves at the Crystal Tower? Did you know that if you try to walk up to the Crystal Tower without the 4 fangs, you instantly get a game over?
Oh, you mean there? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, I did do that on accident.
I went in with my ship, and the ship just teleports you back.
Yeah, you have to get off the ship and try walking through, yeah.
So the ship bounces back. So then I got off my airship and I started walking through the statues, and the first set disappeared. And I was like, all right, this is cool. I don't know what's happening. Second set disappeared, and I was like, well, this is ominous.
Then the third set.
And then the third set blew my ass to smithereens.
You just instant game over.
Yeah, just instant game over, and I was like, "Go, good." I'm glad that they do anything to explain what's happening here.
I can't
I
wait.
figured it
to
out
go
pretty quickly
and try
because I
this
was
now.
like, well, I have 2 fangs. I've seen 2 crystals. I'm assuming this is tied together, and this is like the path to the end of the game. And it turned out that I was totally right. Yeah.
So 1 crystal is meant to destroy 1 set. That's so they were disappearing.
One fang per
fang,
one
yeah.
set.
Ah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I didn't even try walking through it at all until the very end. So I killed all 4 towers right away.
Yeah, that's fun. And in 14, they explain you will die if you touch them too. So I played Final Fantasy 3 after the Crystal Tower had come out in Final Fantasy 14, so within the last 3 years. So I knew immediately. I was like, don't do that. They already told me I'll die. I'm not doing it. So
Actually, real quick too, it was actually kind of interesting that you got to see them in this game find other ways to limit your progression. You know, this is one of those things like illusion of choice. The game is still linear, but you can see where you can go. Kind of like when you play like a Metroidvania game. You can see there's the gate you can't get through. There's the jump you can't quite make yet.
oh my God, jumping! How do we not talk about the airship that has to jump over the mountains?
Oh Jesus!
Please
the structure of the airships in this game.
So that was going to come into this too. It's just like having they experimented with different ways to gate you around. Having an airship that can't fly over mountains naturally is silly.
And even the one that can has to do this over and over
Let's go.
again.
And it can't even fly over all mountains, just a short little baby mountain.
When I heard that the Invincible was another ship, I was like, oh, good, we're finally going to get something that goes over mountains. No.
Yeah.
It goes over
I figured, it's the end of the game. We're going to get the ship that can finally do whatever the hell I want.
Nope.
For one, it goes slower than the ship that you just had. Therefore, it can't fly up the wind tunnel that exists in one area of the game to get up to Doga's house. And its ability to fly over mountains is literally flying over molehills.
Come on, it has to
after
rev its
doing
engines
this.
up. It must rev the engines up. Got to put that extra steam in for a very short burst.
And it loses the ability to go underwater,
underwater.
so you have to go back and swap over to the other airship if you want to go to the underwater area.
I know it sucks because I was really hoping that I'm like, oh, cool. I have this ship. I no longer have to go underwater to get to get to the Mage Village. Nope. Still got to go underwater to go buy your spells.
Mhm.
Yep.
I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, I'll just fly into that town and buy my new spell.
Nope.
Nope.
But it was cool because they experimented with locking key mechanics. They experimented a little bit more with story. They experimented a little bit more with class-based progression of allowing the character, again, illusion of choice. Actually, there was full choice for how you wanted to progress.
There was full choice, but there were wrong choices.
There are wrong
There were
choices.
less optimal
There's
choices.
no wrong choices. There is only not enough grinding. Because I'm fairly confident if you wanted to go into the Gruta fight with level 9, like 4 level 9 freelancers, you could beat it.
Yeah, you go take care of that.
Yeah. You know what? You proved that correct, and I will be here waiting for you.
Just gotta grind it out, man. Gotta grind it out.
You know what you got to do? You got to make a save state every time before the turn starts, and if you use lightning, just load the last save state.
No,
Until you
we
get
ain't
there.
no tassin here. We ain't no tassin.
Alright,
Screw that noise.
that's fine.
Actually, there is one other game that has forced me to change how I play like that, and it was. Have you guys heard of Unepic?
No.
Yes.
Unepic. One of the very first versions of the game. I was a full kind of melee class, and there's a boss you can't kill with melee, and I was so angry at it.
So with
Then-
that in mind, is this high on your replay list for Final Fantasy games?
I'd replay this.
No. I was extremely let down. This and 2, I do not think I want to replay it all.
I can respect that.
If I could stop time, I would, but it's not worth.
Well, then you would be Zonde.
Hmm.
You would be Zonde. Tay Zonde.
Is on day to stop time.
Yeah.
I don't get the joke.
Zonde's the name of the guy before the World of Darkness.
Oh yes.
And that's the entire.
Yes.
He was gifted mortality
Yes.
by his master, so he wants to stop time so he
Never
won't die.
We didn't talk too much about the Crystal Tower stuff, did we?
There's not really. You go up the Crystal Tower, you go up 10 floors. There's dragons that beat the shit out of you if you run into them. And then
I'm really glad I could run from those fights. That's what I did for the whole Crystal Tower. And like my ninja got me out first action of every turn and got me out of all those fights. And then it wasn't until we made it into the world of like the super dark area after the Zonde fight where that started failing sometimes.
Yeah, I actually didn't have very many problems like with the characters, like with those fights in there. But I did read up on how you're supposed to get the ultimate armor and how some of those the actual color dragons pop up. It's really dumb.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
really
you want to talk about Ultimate Armor? Look, just wait till next week, or you can talk about Pinktails.
I did that as a kid. I don't know if I'll be doing it in this one.
Don't do it. I'm warning you right now.
I may try. I don't
The
know.
buffed, I believe the Steam version's buffed drop rate is still 0.8%. That is the buffed drop rate, mind you.
Yeah, no, I did it as a kid. I think I farmed for like 2 or 3 days on an emulator, trying to get them all, even with turbo, and I still only got like 2. I think it was just. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Nope. Okay, so yeah, and for me, definitely not replaying this again for a long time. I've played it twice now in the last year, and both times I've had to completely restart the game because of the Mithril Mines. Both times. If I do, I'm making a note for myself that says, don't go into the goddamn mines in ABS. Always be saving. There you go. All right, so that's going to be our wrap-up for Final Fantasy III. We got to talk a lot about our frustrations here. I think we were all kind of surprised at how we ended up feeling about Final Fantasy III.
I will say that once you do get those last set of jobs and you start having enough money to do stuff, the game is actually fun.
It just takes 90% of the game to get there.
At that point. But before then, it was a slog to get
That's a long 90%, my friend. Although this game was shorter than I remembered it being, in all honesty.
Yeah, it was about 25 hours played for me.
Yeah, not that bad.
I I think if I didn't end up doing the class switching, it would have been a much faster game.
Yeah, it would have.
Oh yeah.
But that's what's really cool is like it's because I know people in chat were really enjoying the fact that
You were getting your ass kicked.
when they played, they could switch whenever they wanted. But again, it just adds to flavor, adds to choice, allowing the user to choose how they want to enjoy the game in a much better way than 2 did. Because 2's way of
But 2 had real, but the blood swords in 2 were so good. The blood sword and the blood lance in this game.
Not
Blood sword is a mechanic.
we give up at the end of the game and we don't know if we actually made this correctly, so we're going to throw in a weapon that just breaks
There was blood swords and blood lances in 3. They were decent.
Yeah, and they were like 1/8, maybe 1/10, maybe 1/16.
The only
Actually,
difference
they're
is
very effective in this one because it's a full heal from the damage you do, but
the accuracy
100% of the
reduction.
damage is 100% of the heal, but the damage is low, so it balances out.
and in this game they started nerfing the accuracy on blood weapons. So if you weren't using special attacks, you were far more likely to miss. And that is a balance that the blood sword and blood items continue to have throughout the series to make up for their incredibly potent effect. But there's always ways to cheese around that. For example, Dragoon's jump, 100% of the damage healed from Blood Lance. Guess what I did?
Didn't even think of that.
Yeah, it's quite useful to have a Dragoon with a Blood Lance, even if it's a slightly weaker, as long as his other is a Gungnir or a Magic Lance, which you can only get if you either have a level 99 with Dragoon, or you have a level 71 Thief and you steal it from Odin before he murders you, which Zantetsuken was not a one-hit kill. I learned that.
I couldn't kill Odin when I was stealing the item because I was getting one shot with it, which made me sad.
Sad face.
I went back and I just destroyed him and I didn't even steal the spear. I was like, well,
I got it in one try. Everyone in my chat hated me. I was like, okay, I might have to reset a few times here, guys. I don't know if I'm gonna get. All right, I got it. Kill him.
So like for my chat, if you guys want to know, the first night after we got the crystals, I leveled up 3 level 99 thieves and 1 level 99 white mage.
Good
I
job.
had that, and we randomed that white mage so well almost every time. So I was so happy we're getting the level 99 white mage most of the time.
Spoilers.
It was so good. I was so happy. But and then someone chose thief. It was just like yes. But anyway,
Good preparation. All right, so that's gonna wrap. That's gonna be a wrap for Final Fantasy 3 for this week. Next week we get to another double feature, so expect probably a longer show in the Final Fantasies 4 and 5. Probably 2 of the longest ones to talk about from the first half of Count Up, just because of their
Very big
their
changes to the series formula.
huge
Happens right
changes.
because 4 is going to be all about story and preset
Yes.
characters, and then 5 is going to be a big story, but still with a better job system than 3.
So if I can, before we wrap up with this part, Final Fantasy 4, I have already played through 4 and 5. I've already finished them as of right now. I will say the PSP version of 4, which I played through my PlayStation TV, is by far the easiest game I've ever played.
Yeah, people have been saying that's a very easy one. Is it even easier than the GBA version?
It is the easiest game I've ever played in my life. Like, I'm probably worse at Super Mario Land on the Game Boy than I am at.
That game's
this.
hard. The
That game's
jumping
not that
mechanics
hard.
in that make no sense.
No, trust me, it's real. One of the benefits of the PSP version, though, is at some point in the game, you're actually allowed to pick your entire party from all of the alive cast members. You're not stuck with the final 5 people like you are in the Steam version.
In the very original. The Steam version also gets rid of that. I forgot about that.
Yes. So you have, I don't remember, I think it's like 12 different party members to choose from for the final
I'm
part.
probably going to keep.
I think it's just 9.
Is it?
There's the 5, and then Edward, Yang, the twins, and I feel like that might be it.
No, there's more than that. There's got to be more than that. I swear it's
this-
more than 9 people.
This is the first game too where we have 5 members.
Yep.
That's actually
Yes.
one of the only games you get 5 members. I
Yeah,
think.
this is also. We're also going to be talking about the story, the changes to the row system. 5 starts to bring some big changes to the 4 and 5 bring some big changes to the row system, and then on top of that, 5 we got to talk about
Sid.
the job system
Sid's the
today.
other one in 4,
Sid,
so there's
yes,
5
I
there.
knew there was at least double digits.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then 5 we're going to talk about the job system again, and 4 I like 2 it's absent again. In a sense, it's still there, but in a much different way.
Yeah.
Okay, so What versions are you guys gonna play for 4 and 5?
I'm
PSP.
playing the GBA version of both of them.
Good.
PSP.
PSP.
Oh, and then Final Fantasy 5. I don't know yet. I don't
Okay,
know what
I'm
wanna
gonna
do.
tell you right now what I did with 5. I caved and I played the Steam version
Oh no!
because I was familiar with it already. I played it before because I played it when that came out. I don't own any other version, and I tested this. And I tested the load times on my PlayStation TV for 5 and 6. 12 seconds per fight. 6 seconds to get into the fight. 6 seconds to leave the fight.
Please,
So do
Please don't.
not play the PlayStation 1 version of 5 or 6.
please don't play the travesty, which is FF6.
On Steam? No, I'm playing the SNES version.
Thank you.
I'm playing the Super Nintendo version where Phoenix is spelled F-E-N-I-X.
FENX.
You can also you can still play the GBA version that
Yes.
I will be able
I would
to play any other
but from
one.
what I understand for 6, if you're going to play the GBA version, the audio is messed up.
I have the audio patched.
Yeah,
version.
the audio patch version.
I wish I could get like a text patch, but I'll just play with the different translation and enjoy the music.
You're gonna play with fixed stats that mean something.
It's nice having evasion that's important.
Hey, it was
Well,
important in
it's
2.
very important for everything, though.
Yeah. So as you can tell, we're all looking forward to 4 and 5 next week, and definitely 6 in the
Yeah,
following
honestly,
week.
this is where the series. I've been looking forward to this since we started 3.
I know. I saw
and
your
I got
tweet.
super disappointed, and I was just
I get to
like,
start
oh my
playing the
God.
good ones.
Yeah, the whole rest of the series from this point on is just like every new game. Oh, yay! I get to play this one now.
This is where nostalgia's gonna kick in and be like, "We remember this. It's so good."
Yeah.
Are you guys going to beat Omega and Shinryu before next week? In 5?
I'm gonna be doing a 4-job Fiesta run, so probably not.
No.
I
yeah.
don't.
I love
know.
4-job Fiesta runs. They're so fun. They're not that hard. Right?
I don't find them that fun. I like freely changing my job, like
I
without
like the
any
idea of
restrictions.
changing my jobs, but the way that game is designed, it's really fun. Like there are a few tools that help 4-job Fiestas not feel like you're killing yourself. There are things that like explain what each boss is weak to. There's a big guide that says if you have this class, you want to go here to get this weapon. If you have this class, you can steal this from this boss and all this kind of stuff. And with those kind of tools, 4-job Fiesta runs are actually really fun.
Yeah, you have fun with that.
I will.
I was not.
and
I got
playing
asked
out.
that so many times. It's like I'm not doing 4-job
Yeah.
Fiesta. There's no way.
I've done 2 this year, so this will be my 3rd.
Oh god. All right. One other reminder, don't forget everyone, Kingsglaive will be in theaters August 19th, select theaters, so keep your eye on the select theaters. Slack, I know that you're still never going to see it, so that message isn't to you. I actually have been checking the AMC near me every day. They still don't have showtimes for it, even though it's
Yeah, I need to see
11 days away.
where it's available. If it's
Yeah, you're gonna have to get on a plane, I think, from where you are if you wanna get anything. And then also, I don't think it's out yet. I'm pretty sure on Thursday, because I think it's on the 10th of every month, is when the next episode of Final Fantasy 15 Brotherhood comes out. I don't think it's out yet. I'm pretty sure it's on the 10th of the month when the next episode of Brotherhood comes out, because I saw some screenshots from it earlier today. So there you go. Oh, you could have just said that. You
I
know?
was just gonna throw it in here just for when it happens, for when we talk about it.
I mean, you could talk about it right now. It's already in there now.
See, okay, here's the real reason why I put it in here. Because I don't know how to say that name.
Manabu Daishima?
There we go. See, I would have just messed it up.
That's like one of the easiest names.
I would have butchered it. You've seen how I've typed.
That's
Now,
true.
my-
He would have been Monbua, knowing
I said Manabu Tashimiya. You see?
Mana Mana Boo Boo.
After
Stick
you
your head in
already
doo-doo.
said it.
Considering what the article is about, maybe we shouldn't be making this a topic right now.
I know. That's why.
Say what you were gonna, because you put it in the show notes just now. So I'll let you be the one to bring that up.
The one of the main graphic designers for Chrono Trigger had passed away, which by the name of
Manabu Daishima.
there we go. Had passed away, which really sucks. That was just this
July
past
30th. Yeah.
Yeah, just this
It
past.
was only 45. Wow.
And
really
so
young.
I know there's a lot of people that were like, but another Chrono Trigger game one day, and then the dream slowly fades, sadly.
Yeah, it also mentions Romancing Saga, map and world graphic design for Secret of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Saga Frontier, Parasite Eve, Final Fantasy IX, field map design for Final Fantasy IX, 3D map design for Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. Oh no, Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII, and the 3D map and background and design for Final Fantasy XII. Quite the career.
They had quite the repertoire. So that is unfortunate. But as we get older, people will be passing away, and we can only hope that you will be the next generation of game designers. You could be that.
I thought you were going to say we can only hope that you are the next to go. And I was like, whoa.
Wow, Slack.
Man.
Whoa!
That's some Louis C.K. level comedy right there. I was going to say that you will enjoy their work long after they have passed. Because, I mean, keep in mind that we are playing through Final Fantasy XII at some point and Final Fantasy IX at some point. So we'll get to see some of his work.
Yeah.
So, unfortunate that it was at such a young age, only 45. But
Here's a question.
we'll
Are
honor
you
his
guys just
work.
doing the basic version of 12?
Yes, I am saving Zodiac Age for next year.
I'll be 7.
I'll play through it again then. Screw that.
I want to know why I quit this version. I need to know why, so I can put it into better words.
And I want to go AFK for 6 hours fighting Iasmet. Just to prove that I can.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Good
if I grind that much, we'll see.
Come on, you just go to bed on the loop. Let your
That's a little different in 12. I can go to bed against one boss. I can't go to bed against enemies that aren't there, and I can't.
There's a setup grid in the forest. One of the main areas you can loop. You can put your console. Like you can set up your characters in such a way that you can grind out maximum EXP there.
You hear this little cheater? Right here, guys.
There's like 2 or 3 different areas you could do it in.
Oh, yeah, there's the one in the cave where the slimes drop down from the ceiling, I think.
I think that was one. And then there's one in the desert, and then there's one in the forest area.
It's too bad we don't have a way of setting up a multiplayer playthrough between the 3 of us for one of these games, because one thing that is going to start happening with Final Fantasy V next week is that actually is a multiplayer function where each person can control a party member in combat whenever their actions come up.
Because FF6 had multi-tap support too, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Which was rare for a game. For an RPG, even weirder.
I believe Final Fantasy IX also has it, according to, or had it, according to my chat. So, yeah, I remember not understanding how that worked at all as a kid. But it's too bad we couldn't set that up, because I'll be your healer, and man, you better not say anything wrong to me. That's all I gotta say.
Actually, I hope that one day, if they ever do end up releasing like a really good RPG mobile app that has kind of that multiplayer support, like a turn-based MMO, Final Fantasy 11 one day, for mobile.
Well, we have Mobius now, so.
Mobius doesn't count.
Yeah, it's more like Clicker Heroes. Anyway, that's how I feel about Mobius at the very least.
Wow.
There you go. But anyway, we're going to wrap up the show for the week, ladies and gentlemen, so that these two men can get to streaming. Morag, I got to talk to you after the show at some point. Yeah, we were talking about it last night.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Because I don't want to say anything now before we discuss what we got to discuss.
There's some cool stuff coming.
Yeah, some cool stuff. Slack's just like, what cool stuff? He doesn't know. Don't make that face.
I think I know one of the things in the one place, but
In the one place?
The one place in the
One ring to rule them all.
secret one
There you
place to secret them all.
The whispers.
The whispers of Cthulhu. Anyway, so we're gonna let's wrap things up. Let's finally do our conclusions here, where we plug ourselves. We tell people to watch our best streams ever, because that's what one of us has been saying every week. Just so you guys don't get the opportunity to do it first, I'm gonna say it first. I'm Mr. Happy. You can find me everywhere, Mr. Happy 1227, because they both got to be the greatest streams ever, at least once so far. This week, I'm the greatest stream ever of all time. I'm stealing that privilege from both of them after the last 2 weeks, and I'm of course playing through 6 right now. We finished the opera scene. I've already suplexed the train. I've already done the opera. I've already gone through getting espers. So we're moving along pretty well in there. So looking forward to it. SNES version. Now, which one of you will go next?
I have the worst stream ever. You should come and watch it. You know, it's almost cringeworthy. You know, fail cams, live stream fails. If you look hard enough, you'll probably find me at least a dozen times on every single one of these awful websites. And if not, I need to be on that website at least 12 times. So come down, check out the worst stream possible, and clip it, post it on social media of how god awful it is in the kindest words possible. tehMorag.
By the way, you can find him at twitch.tv/tehMorag, since he leaves that detail out every week.
Every week. You can find me at I've got it really easy. Slackaholicus.tv redirects you right to my stream. I run the second worst stream on Twitch. It's actually worse than running the worst stream because I don't even get featured on live stream fails or anything like that. It's just that no one cares. So I'll be doing Final Fantasy Count Up. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I'm going to be playing through a lot of Final Fantasy games. It's going to be a fun time. You should come check it out. We're going to have a moratorium for a lot of my current sub emotes real soon because I'm getting a whole bunch of new ones coming.
I've seen some of
I'm
those.
going to turn my chat into... Oh, yeah? Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I know who's doing them, so...
Yeah, okay, I figured, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. I cannot wait to get those new ones. Yeah, it's a stream. I have a beard. If you like those.
Yeah, and don't confuse us on Twitter, please.
It happens to ourselves.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
see his face, and I sometimes think it's me, and then he sees my face, and it's just...
I see him tweet, and I'm like,
I didn't
go to
say
Suicide
that.
Squad. What is this?
That didn't happen.
Who got on my Twitter?
Oh, that's
Fix
right.
it.
Why-
That's not my Twitter.
There you go. That's perfect. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week for Count Upcast. We'll be back next week with some in-depth discussion about Final Fantasies 4 and 5, where you can see that we never shut the hell up. Thank you for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week. Until then, take care, everyone.